Greetings, fellow human travelers. I thought I would give you a pet topic is if you've heard of philology or philology is the study of the development of language specifically, typically involving ancient languages. Shout out to the wonderful La Rivière, qui je connais, who I know, who is able to read ancient Greek, which I find very impressive. So there's these linguistic speculations that deal with the technical problems of languages, and they're sometimes entertaining to the speculator. But the mere thought of reading and studying on the subject usually fills him with horror. What? Learn about anything linguistic? Why? That's surely the dullest of all subjects, might we think. Its disciples are supposed to be grim and chilly individuals with never an atom of humanity in their dispositions. Entertainment must be entirely absent from this recondite field. Romance may be expected to lurk in physics, chemistry, biology, or mathematics, but in linguistics, never. Still, with so much curiosity about the subject evident among people in general, the romance must after all be lurking somewhere. The speculation implies at least a possibility of intellectual adventure. Perhaps a book can give answers to some of the questions without, at the same time, marshalling a host of unnecessary facts and a forbidding and formal array leading us astray. There are ambitious textbooks and reference books in abundance which could be consulted by inquiring amateurs, but it's doubtful whether the inquirer's ardor could escape dampening in the process. To a trained eye, these same volumes may appear to be repositories of the most exciting information, but a non-linguist sees in them nothing but a mass of irrelevant and uninspiring facts. He groans and turns away to look for romance rather than the latest text expounding the sublimities of mathematics. The educated reader with an unprofessional, merely casual interest in language has not yet, I believe, received the kind of book he does deserve. He is entitled to the information he wants, expressed in a language he can understand. The over-diluted and superficial accounts which often pass as popularizations give him too little and leave him justly dissatisfied. The heavily incomprehensible volumes which specialists sometimes produce under the illusion that they are being popular leave him, on the other hand, completely mystified. But surely there must be a middle ground for this much-abused general reader. So here is an attempt to reach general readers and that middle ground, and no wish to repeat the extremely competent general introductions in linguistics designed for more advanced students, such as recent volumes by Prakash, Bloomfield, Gray, Graff, with grateful recognition that must be made as well. But the author does not hope to answer some of the simpler questions clearly and at the same time to show some of the fascination of a much maligned subject of study. Afterwards, the reader can consult more detailed works with pleasure and profit. Now is the pure joy here to be derived from the perception of clear relationships where none was previously observed. This exciting experience is for many persons a reward in and of itself. Linguistic studies yield it abundantly, I say to you. But there is an even more practical reward to be gained too. If you learn that a certain type of relationship is apt to appear in a language of one given family, then you are quite justified in looking for something like it elsewhere, and you will probably find it. As a result, the effort in learning the second will be much easier than the first. What is known as a, quote, gift for languages, unquote, is largely an ability to see these likenesses quickly. To see them is to remember more readily the words that exemplify them. Memorizing new words is only difficult when you can't see any sense to them, any relationship to something already known. Some relationships become plain when we observe the difference between our own pronunciation, when we are being careful or bookish, and at other times when we are careless. For example, notice consciously what happens to your pronunciation of, quote, give me. When you're tired, it tends to become gimme. The V sound has been changed until it becomes identical with the next one. Give me, The resulting im may be spoken a bit prolonged as an indication. Gimme. that is now taking the place of two different sounds. This doubled sound, if you will, is the result of a process known as assimilation, or the changing of two unlike things until they become more alike. But if assimilation happens today in our own rapid speech, it must have had many times before in the speech of other peoples, and yes, it did. You observe, for example, the Italian word with a double letter, as it is popularly called, show clear signs of assimilation from an earlier stage where there were two different letters representing two quite different sounds. It's easy to guess what sounds they were originally before the change took place. Example, if you encounter the word auto, O-T-T-O, meaning 8, a little experimenting will lead you to surmise that it was once octo, and is connected somehow with our word octave in music. Likewise, note shows connections with Latin nocte and English nocturnal. Massimo with Maximus, and so on. Once this sort of thing has been pointed out, it seems ridiculously clear and obvious, and it facilitates the learning of a whole series of similar words. Yet the relationship has to be pointed out in the first place. There is a practical use for all linguistic principles. They clarify what was once obscure, and they also make learning new languages much simpler. The practical aids which linguistic study gives should not be scorned by the exponent of science for its own sake. In this book, there will be constant reference to the everyday helps to be used in learning languages. There will be exercises and suggestions for further experiment, designed for those who wish to apply the principles concretely. The notes tell an additional books to read in each field, and from these initial studies, the roads lead out endlessly into other terrains of research, like psychology, sociology, anthropology, music, even physics. It is presumptuous thinking, no doubt, to attempt so brief and undetailed a survey as this of a vast field where so many great scholars have labored. A wish for brevity and simplicity may have led to inaccuracies or false impressions in the survey. Yet it is to be hoped that the two chief purposes may be served in some measure, no matter what the faults may be. These purposes are a revelation of some of the poetry and romance in language studies, and an exposition of some of the more practical benefits which may be derived by teachers and learners from these same studies. And that is a quote from the Internet Archive on The Gift of Languages by Margaret Sloch. So that is an excerpt for you all, and I hope that it was interesting to you, as interesting as it was to me. Language as communication is primary. So I'll leave you with some resources. The Secret Life of Pronouns, very interesting book, talks about functional words versus descriptive words, and the clear distinction, The Secret Life of Pronouns, the differences in even mental, let's say, issues with people overusing the word I versus we, right? The proclivity toward higher rates of depression for people that use the I pronoun, and in comparison to we. That's just one of many examples. I find it very interesting. Again, philology is the develop of languages, the development. And I hope that's interested you. I'll continue reading. Let's see how much time we have. Yeah, until 10 minutes. Suppose you're about to step across a crowded street without looking about with due causation. An automobile is careening towards you in a conspicuous contempt of traffic regulations. If you continue in your blind carelessness, you are sure to be knocked over, even killed. But a quick-eyed stranger, let's say a monolingual Hungarian, sees what's about to happen to you. Shrill with horror, he shouts something at you in the Magyar tongue. You get something of his message without understanding a single word, draw back suddenly, and are saved. Somewhat breathless and also more than a little sheepish at your recent oblivion of surroundings, you stammer your thanks to him. If your sudden retreat with it, you have stepped on your Savior's foot, and you add some words of apology. He is on his side, smiles, disclaims any reason for your gratitude and graciously accept your apology in the appropriate Hungarian formula. Neither of you has understood a word of the other's speech, and yet the interchange has so far been quite clear and eminently agreeable to both participants. It was facilitated, of course, by the simplicity of the situation and the urgency of the first cry. Ideas have been exchanged. There has been communication in the sense that these ideas have been successfully made common knowledge of the two people concerned. Then he follows with another Indian example. Gesture is next. Quality and volume of voice are not the only methods of carrying messages across a linguistic divide. Gesture is another aid very closely associated with tonal expression. And then he continues with an example. And I've passed 10 minutes. So I hope you've enjoyed. This has been an excerpt from The Gift of Tongues. And I will see you next time, fellow travelers. Bye-bye.